the last few years, we have seen how there have been several conversations, as you say, about how that this economy needs to look away from oil, at least for a minute, in a manner of speaking, so that the country can now focus on other, well, sectors, industries that are also very viable if we put in the right energy in the right measure. For example, there have been talks about textile, there have been talks around steel. Ajakuta, in this regard, really comes to mind. For example, what are the obstacles that stand in the way of government in driving these other sectors in such a way that there is strategy and then the output is also, say, significant or commendable in such a way that we don't continually rely on just oil? Because, as they say, when the price of oil sneezes in the international market, Nigerian economy catches cold. So what can we do with these other sectors? Look at, for example, the solid minerals, which many people say is doing better today under the leadership of Dr. Dele Alake. But the question is that where we're supposed to be within these last 2 years? Well, we'll wait to find out in the course of this conversation in the next 20 minutes. Our guest this morning, who joins us live via Zoom from Abuja, the capital city of Nigeria, is Onyekpere. He's a lawyer and a development expert. I would say a big thank you to you, Mr. Onyekpere, for your patience as always, and to say, first of all, as we get this conversation on the road this morning, yes, we've talked about our reliance, or if you like, over dependence on crude oil in this country. But talk to us about the enemy, so to speak, of Nigeria in terms of our inability, or I dare say failure, to explore other sectors that should otherwise be a blessing to this country.
Well, let me start by saying that before we move away from the oil and gas sector, there is what I describe to be the expounding the frontiers of the oil and gas economy, which we have not done first before we move away from it. One, we are still exporting crude at a time we should be exporting refined products, okay? Refineries don't have enough domestic crude to be able to do local refining and export. That's one. We're not even producing sufficient gas to power our energy sector, to power electricity. That could also be another source of income. So we should be able to deepen these aspects before we think of others. But as we say, we cannot place all our eggs in one basket. Now, moving away from oil and gas, let me even start with something you didn't mention: agriculture, which used to be the mainstay of the economy before the discovery of oil and gas. Can you think of the value chain of the oil palm, rubber, cocoa, berry seeds, sesame, you just name it. And then in the industry, animal husbandry industry, the cattle, the beef, the milk, the hides and skin, and all the things that can be produced in it. We have not explored these options, which should naturally come to us, because agriculture is the preoccupation of the bulk of the population, particularly the poor who are in the rural areas. So all we need to do is to ask ourselves, what are the binding constraints on agricultural productivity? You see, of late, we've been discussing about insecurity in all parts of Nigeria. And this is the reason that government exists in the first place, secure lives and property. So first of all, we need to secure lives and property for the agricultural sector to work. And then we must begin value-added agriculture. Not just exporting raw products, processing them and putting more value, which can fetch a better price in the international market where we can export them. Then you made mention of metals, okay, things like metals and solid minerals, which we have not exploited. That's very true. If you look at the medium-term expenditure framework, we are still talking about less than 10 billion to accrue to the Federation account from solid minerals, which is a huge disgrace. But I'm happy of late they've said we are going to start processing lithium, digging it out of the earth in Nasarawa State and in some other areas. And then some other products like gold and other things they said we are going to go into. But the important thing is not just to mine lithium or gold and export it raw. We must have a beneficiation process that adds value to it. I mean, lithium is in high demand for production of batteries for electric vehicles and all whatnot. We don't need to export it. Why can't we have factories, whether owned by locals or internationals, come to our backyard in Abuja, in Lagos, in the East, in Nasarawa State, in Kano, and start adding value and start producing these batteries so that we can export them, increase employment in Nigeria, increase the tax takes, as well as earn foreign exchange when we export them. So that's one. Well, the Jokuta story is a very long one you're talking about still. There is nothing that demonstrates the failure of the Nigerian political class and the elite. Their short-sightedness, their inability to connect to the long-term aspirations and ambitions of the black race and the Nigerian people than the Jokuta project. So if anybody is interested in reviving it, that would be great. And I don't think it takes rocket science. It only takes political will to bring a Jokuta back. So in essence, the binding constraints, as you can see, in agriculture, part of it now is insecurity. But the major binding constraint is poor governance, because you need to be able to put up a roadmap and a vision. For instance, in agriculture, animal husbandry, whether it's the palm produce, whether it's cocoa, you put up an idea, back it up with the human resource that can implement the idea, and give incentives to the poor locals, to the people in the communities. Make it more profitable for them. Use the products of research institutes to remove drudgery, to remove, back-breaking work from agriculture. We have 15 agricultural research institutes paid for the taxpayers' expense under the Ministry of Agriculture. One of them is supposed to be specialized in automation, production of agricultural machinery in a lorry. Look at their products that are lying on the shelves. Nobody's talking about them. So there is a lot that can be done through the interface of using the products of these research institutes. Now, beyond that, the research institutes can become more productive by letting actual farmers set the agenda of their research, so that as soon as they produce these research efforts, there will be off-takers. For instance, every year we have tomato gluts, we have tomato rust, okay? Tomato gets bad every year, farmers lose. Be it there are agricultural research institutes. Why can't they simply focus on that and make research findings that will help the farmers make sure that their tomato, pepper, and all those things are better produced and preserved? So there's a lot that can be done, but it's a question of the political will and the enabling environment.
All right, before my colleague, Queen Agaba jumps in, I just want to talk about this real quick. I deliberately skipped agriculture a while ago because it appears to be overflowed. But that now that is in front of us, let's have it, all right? Because corruption has also been fingered now as being central to one of the impediments of us not being able to succeed with agriculture. For example, look at the Anchor Borers program. We still see the authorities dragging beneficiaries, individuals and corporate entities left, right, and center. And you are asking, if that's all we could achieve with the Anchor Borers program, what hope is there for the agricultural sector in whole?
Well, it is a question of law being defined as the command of the sovereign backed by sanctions. There were people involved, not ghosts, who had that money under the Anchor Borers program. They mismanaged it. The best message to be sent to them and others who want to steal is that by now, most of them should have been in jail or are waiting trial, already being tried, some already being convicted, and then sent to jail. So that's the expectation. And if we don't do it, it's a dangerous trend that we are setting so that people can come in future and replicate it. There was nothing wrong with the Anchor Borers program in terms of its design. But what was wrong was its implementation, the money not getting to the actual farmers, the resources getting to political farmers and briefcase farmers, and the real actual farmers. For instance, my organization collaborates with a group called the Small Scale Women Farmers Organization of Nigeria, SWOFON. Many of them we spoke to, they heard of the Anchor Borers program on television and radio and newspapers just like we had them. It never had an impact on them. They never benefited. So when we begin to penalize people who mismanage brilliant ideas, send them to jail, not just for mismanaging, but for stealing the money, then things are going to change.
We keep talking about foreign direct investments, FDI, in this country, which is not, exclusive to the Tinubu government. Now, curiosity would make us ask, for example, into which sectors are we attracting these investments? For example, within the lifetime of this current administration, at a point last year, we were told by the Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, that the government had in principle, attracted $14 billion in some kind of investment. Is it possible, Mr. Onyekpere, to attract foreign investments, whether it's direct or otherwise, into sectors that are either moribund altogether or are struggling to get on one foot?
I am not particularly a fan of foreign direct investment because of a lot of challenges associated with it. But if Mr. Waledu said they attracted $14 billion, he is the appropriate person to explain the very sectors, the companies, and the investors. I'm in no position to explain his, which I know is, with utmost respect, is not true. It's government propaganda. So, if we're expecting investments, for instance, why I'm not a fan, I wouldn't like anybody to come and acquire thousands of hectares of land in Nigeria, a foreigner, and begin to do agriculture, which the locals can do. We have sufficient men and women who are unemployed. We have sufficient money in the banks, whether the central bank or at the commercial banks, that can be deployed. We have sufficient people. We have trained in the universities of agriculture. There are about 6 of them, and agricultural faculties across all the universities. So investors can come in, Nigerian investors. So because my dream is a Nigerian economy for Nigerians in Nigeria and in the diaspora. Let's not be thinking of foreigners, because if a foreigner takes your land, takes your water, produces cattle, hides and skin, milk and fish, if he sells it, if he makes profit in Naira, you know what he's going to do? At the end of the year or the month, you go to the foreign exchange segment to sell your Naira into dollars to take it away. So we can think of Nigerians being encouraged to invest in these areas. Like they also told us they've attracted foreign investors in solid minerals. That's a good idea. But we shouldn't replicate the mistakes we made in the oil sector in terms of simply asking these people to come and take a portion of the solid minerals. They take the biggest pie and then we take peanuts. No, it should be developmental. Like we hire the competencies, the competencies produce the solid minerals, bring it up to the earth's surface. We have factories to add value, and then we export and keep the bulk of the money. We only pay for human capital, which we don't have, and maybe for some next technology, which we have, which should come in from overseas to be able to mine those solid minerals, and not repeating the mistakes of having an IOC come and take 40-something% of crude oil. We can't afford to repeat that same mistake.
All right, before my colleague jumps right in, Mr. Onyekpere, I would like to ask you this real quick. As it stands right now, there are those who believe, especially experts in the field of development economics, who say that, look, whatever we think we are realizing from the solid minerals sector right now is not even close to scratching the surface. Because they say there's so much, I mean, the scale of illegality going on in that sector is beyond what words can describe. And to lend credence to that, they are quick to cite the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alake, who last year told senators that, look, there are powerful Nigerians, those were his exact words, powerful Nigerians behind illegal mining in this country. How do we do house cleaning in that sector, for example?
Now, a minister of the Federal Republic tells the Senate of the Federal Republic that there are powerful individuals and cartels behind illegal mining and maybe using it to support the insurgency or insecurity across the country. I would want to believe that the minister did not speak on hearsay. He must have had security and intelligence reports. Now, what is the duty of the minister or the Senate or the intelligence agencies that gave him that information? You discover somebody is committing a crime, and is committing this crime at the expense of lives and properties and fueling insecurity across the divide in Nigeria. I expect that he should be prosecuted, arrested, interrogated, prosecuted, sent to jail, the process of crime recovered. So this question you are asking me is the Senate and the Honorable Minister and those who supplied him with the security information that should be asking, what have they done with the security information available to them? It's a shame. It's not the way to govern a country that somebody will have that security information. He has all the authorities. He can see Mr. President, the Commander-in-Chief, and brief him. And the President and Commander-in-Chief is expected to have been briefed at the numerous Federal Executive Council meetings. What has he done with that information? So the question goes back to those who gave us the information.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Onyekpere, for your contribution so far. Recently, we saw that it was recorded that Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, that's MAN, recorded a 2 trillion naira worth of unsold finished goods, and this is a major challenge, particularly following the current economic challenge that we are facing. But in all of this and in this conversation, what is the role of policy in this, conversation?
Well, your voice was a bit faint, but if I heard you well, you said the Manufacturers Association is talking about billions of unsold stock of produced goods lying in the
goods,
warehouses.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, finished goods. Yes, I beg your pardon. Finished goods.
Okay, good. Now that shows you about the ineffectiveness of economic policies, because the power, effective demand is not there. The people have been impoverished by the raft of policies of the administration, which didn't come with any palliatives or any countermeasures to, reduce the challenges associated with those policies. So at the end of the day, you are producing, and the people, their purchasing power has almost been blown away. So they will not be in a position to buy. So what needs to be done is to understand that the economy works as a whole. No policy you do in the monetary policy, for instance, a policy you do on inflation, a policy you do on liberalizing the exchange rate, a policy you do on the removing fuel subsidy, they are all interconnected with people's access to disposable income. So once you are doing these things, you must look for countermeasures that will put food on the table, that will create more jobs, that will increase people's earning power so that they can be able to buy those things they used to buy before. But today, those things have not been done, and that explains why manufacturers produce, it lies down in the warehouses, because people are not in a position to buy. They don't have the disposable income to buy those goods and services.
Well, let's escalate a little, Mr. Onyekpere. As it stands today, President Donald Trump has continually and relentlessly reeled out a barrage of tariffs across the world. Of course, for Nigeria, we understand that he has, quote unquote, given us a 14% tariff on goods that leave this country into the United States. Is there a correlation between this development that has global implications and what we are doing or experiencing back at home as a country?
Well, our situation in terms of the poverty levels, in terms of lack of infrastructure, in terms of the deficit in education and health had always been there before Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's announcement came in the last, not up to 1 month, he did the announcement. But for me, his announcement is a wake-up call from those of us countries in Africa that are sleeping. America, with all the benefits that accrues to it from other parts of the world, I mean, we are using their currency as our reserve currency, currency of international trade. Our reserves are there. China, everybody is buying, and they have benefited more than any other country from the current international order. Yet they are crying and saying they want to make America great again by slamming high tariffs. So it's a wake-up call for us to begin to look inwards. And that's why I've always consistently used the idea of a Nigerian economy for Nigerians in Nigeria and in the diaspora. And so that shows us that we can now begin to take steps to increase local production, to do a Buy Nigeria First procurement policy. Every money that is released for capital projects from the federal, state to local government should first of all look for Nigerian-made goods and services. You can only buy products or goods and services that are not made in Nigeria if there are no comparative goods and services found in Nigeria. That's the kind of thing I expect. We don't even need to announce it. It could be in form of an executive order, silently and quietly, so that if we release 1 trillion for capital expenditure, what happens in Nigeria today is that close to 700-800 billion naira of it is converted to dollars to go and buy cars, all kinds of things. But if we keep that money in Nigeria to patronize made in Nigeria goods, you are going to increase the productive capacity of our industries. There will be greater demand. All those goods that are lying in the warehouses will no longer be there. And of course, they will employ more people. As we employ more people, more taxes will accrue. So at the end of the day, is a win-win for the Nigerian economy. So for me, Donald Trump may be somehow, you may say negative, but it's positive if we can simply sit down and know that in every challenge, in every crisis, there's an opportunity.
All right, great. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to speak with you on this very, very salient development. Barrister is Onyekpere, development lawyer, for these insights you shared with us on the program this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, that's where we're taking a quick break on the program. Everyone, when we return, Queen Agaba and I will draw the curtains on today's edition of Global Morning. Do stay with us.